Hey sweet friends, this is Gina. Welcome to the Rebookery channel. Today we're going to be on Finding Your Style episode number 9, putting it together. And I think I'm going to have to do this in 2 parts because I'm going to show you 2 different, we're going to do, let's start with journals first. And I'm going to show you 2 different versions of a way you can take all of your art that you have made and turn it into a journal. So the one I'm going to show you today is a bound journal. Along my journey, I stumbled across some amazing artists. You've probably heard of them before or seen them. One of them is Robin Marie Smith, I believe is her last name, and the other one is Ray, and I want to say her last name is Michigan. I could be mispronouncing that, and if I am terribly sorry. But those 2 ladies inspired me greatly. And when I first started getting into art journaling and junk journaling, I would watch everything. Robin Marie has a channel. I'm sure she still has it, but she had a channel where she would show all of her artwork. And she had a collection of these pages like this, ones that she had made. They were loose and she wanted them to go into some sort of a journal. So what she did was she bound them together and she turned them into a journal of finished pieces. That got me thinking, okay, what can I do with all of my pieces that I've finished, but I don't just want to sit on a shelf? I took my finished pieces and I sewed them together so that they made pages. So here's the way I did this. I took my 2 pages and I said, all right, these are the 2 I want to be together. I obviously cut off, the edges, and I needed what I call a gutter. I needed a gutter piece, a piece in the center that would connect the 2. Now you could glue this or you could sew this. I sewed mine. So I went through my junk stash of paper because I didn't want to use anything brand new because I didn't know how this was going to turn out. And I had these old brochures from my Aunt Vincy of the Caribbean. So there was a lot of these and I felt like, okay, these are pretty sturdy, they're strong, I could use these. So this was me. Whenever I get an idea, it doesn't matter how much work is involved. If I'm bound and determined to do this idea, I will do this idea, no matter how much work is involved. So here's what I did. I measured the pages, okay? I cut strips. I think these are 2 inches. I glued 2 together, and then I went through and I folded them to make a gutter, if that makes any sense. Then what I did was I took them over to my sewing machine and I would sew them in. Now, I did them back to back. So I would do this, cut off, obviously, the rough edge. I would sew these guys together or glue them together, and then I would glue them to the gutter, and I would do the same thing over here. So I did this, and I had these pages sitting around, oh my gosh, I would say at least 5 years they've been sitting, and I never got rid of them because I lost my mojo, and I just couldn't figure out like how to do this. I didn't have any more inspiration. Part of it was because I didn't really want to make just a journal that was already finished. I didn't want a lookbook, one where I just go through and I look at my work. I wanted a journal where I could work in it. So these guys sat. Then when I started to get into this Finding Your Style 2, and I was going back through this process, I found these guys and I was like, hang on, I know what I could do. I know I want to take all of the art that I made and turn it into a journal, but these guys could become my covers. And so that's what I'm doing with these, is I'm turning these into my covers. So how does this apply to you? Well, if you are interested in doing something like this, what you could do is obviously go check out Robin Marie's channel, because her videos, and it was from a really long time ago, but her videos may still be up and you may be able to see more of how she put her book together. She might even offer classes. I know she offers a lot of education about art and I'm sure they are absolutely fabulous classes. I would highly recommend her. But what you could do if you didn't want to go that route is you could pick some of your finished pieces, okay? Some of the pieces in your stash that you feel like, oh my gosh, this is too good to be a background page, and it's finished. And then you could put them together and make a cover for your journal. So that's what I did, and I'm going to speed up the process. I just wanted to show you that that's how I came up with these pages and these covers. So I don't know that all of these will become covers for journals, because there's some of them that I just don't really love. They were just me putting some pages together. But I did, and you'll see this in the video, I did choose one that I felt was really one of my favorites, and I turned it into the cover of this journal. So here is the process of how I turn this into a journal. I started this process by looking at an old composition notebook journal that I had. I really like how those are bound. I like the simplicity of the single signature. So once I kind of figured out how I was going to put it together, I went through my sewn together pages from a while ago, and I chose one that I felt like I loved and would be a good cover. Then I started going through the process that we went through in Finding Your Style episode where we did the gather and sort, and I just started choosing, okay, what papers would be good pages for my journal, and then what pages would be pages that I could use as the icing on top of my cake. I could use it later as embellishment. Now here's the process that I did, and it took a long time. I started off by measuring the cover. And the way you measure correctly for making a journal is you're going to fold one end up. So you're going to make a right angle. I take my ruler, I line it up with the crease, and I see how long that page is. From there, I then subtract about a ½ inch because, you know, there's always going to be a little bit of allowances. And so I got my measurements, and I just actually wrote them on my paper there. I wanted to reinforce the spine because I knew this was going to be full of pages. So I took some newly acquired fabric that I got at an estate sale, and it was not a knit. I don't believe it's a knit fabric, but it's probably a cotton blend, and it has a lot of sturdiness to it. So I felt like that was gonna be a nice addition to that spine. Then on the inside, I decided that I was going to add, and this is just regular old masking tape, because I really want to beef up this spine. I want this spine to be able to handle the opening and closing that I'm going to do. And I'm going to be hard on this journal. I can tell you right now, I'm going to do a lot of painting in it. I'm going to do a lot of collage in it. So I wanted to beef that up a lot. Now I'm not going to put this through my sewing machine because tape will gum up my needle, and I've learned the hard way too many times. So that's why I used glue, and now I'm going to cover it just with some decorative paper. I think that's some thick handmade paper. So I'm going to just use glue, Elmer's glue, and I'm going to add that strip. Okay, so once I get that on, I need to fold it just so that the glue sets with that fold in there. So I kind of use my ruler to score it a little bit, and I pretty much just kind of set this to the side because I want it to dry. Now I'm going to focus on my papers. So remember when I made those measurements? Well, I came up with how large my papers are going to have to be. And I actually just drew a template on my desk. And I said, okay, my pages are going to have to be 10 by 17. And then I started piecing them together. I glued them together, I sewed them together, I hodgepodged them together until they made a 10 by 17 page. I also wanted to add some blank pages into this journal. So I went through and I found some of my favorite papers. So there's some graph paper, an old envelope that actually had an address on it, some calendar pages, and now I'm just kind of putting them together. And the way I do journals is I put my sturdier papers on the outside and on the inside so that they can handle the binding that I'm going to do, that wear and tear. And then here is my finished journal before I bind it. Okay, so here is the absolute completed journal once I have bound it. The binding process, I didn't film that, and here's why. There's no secret on how to bind. I've had a couple of people say, oh, you know, you probably don't want to show us because you sell journals. That is truly not it at all. I have a very messy process, and my process is not film worthy. It's messy. It takes a long time. I listen to the Red Hot Chili Peppers as I'm doing it, and I don't feel it's film worthy. There are some wonderful book binding artists out there. Johanna does a great job of showing you how she binds her books, so check out her channel. And then Jessica from I'm a Cool Mom, she does a lot of binding tutorials. Those women are wonderful at it, and they do it in such a way that it's not messy. It actually looks seamless and effortless. So check them out. But for me, mine is on this, it's messy, and I just, guys, stuck holes in here, and then I took some of my waxed thread and I just stitched it together. That's pretty much how I bound it. I also went through and I added some more stuff to the cover, added some old quilts. I added a dictionary page, a little golden book. And yeah, this was some fabric I bought the other day and I just thought it was really ugly, so I added this. This came from a friend, and this came from an epic estate sale I went to probably 2 or 3 years ago. So here's the finished journal. Finished, not finished, because this is actually my personal journal now. This is what I am using and I am loving it. Okay, so I'll just flip through, kind of show you. There are some finished pages in here that I put in, but I know I'm going to go back and add more stuff. For example, this page right here, it looks like it could be finished. It's not. It's going to be background. I don't like this picture. This woman looks scary, and so I'm going to do something with that, but I'm going to journal over this. My daughter's artwork, I put some of her paper in here. I went through and gessoed some of my pages so that if I decide to do paint or ink, it will prevent it from bleeding through. This is a page that I have started and I'm not done yet. This was a page that had been done a long time ago. Don't know if I'll keep it like this. I'm pretty sure I'm going to add some stuff to it. This was a journal spread. This was the first journal spread I did. I actually did it on a little piece of recipe paper from my junk pile stash, and then I just washi taped it in because I wanted it to go into the journal. This was another spread I did. I posted this on Instagram, and I actually, no, I didn't do a process video on this one. There's another one I did a process video on. So this old artwork is going to be a great background for my stories that I'm going to put in. Before I bound this, I actually found this old card that my husband had given to me for Mother's Day, and I just had hung on to it for a really long time. But he was remodeling our laundry room and turning it into an art space for me, and so he had drawn that on here, and I had totally forgotten all about that. That was a million years ago. It was probably 15 years ago. This is just some paper that I've done some doodling and some painting on. Here's one. I did a process video on this, so I will post this one on YouTube, and I love this one because I'm looking right now and I see these crazy little birds. So yeah, I added this one in. This is just playing around. So I've got a lot of space to add new stuff. And that's what I wanted. I'm combining my art. I used junk papers, and this is now going to be a usable journal. This is a piece of artwork from my daughter from a long, long time ago, and I turned it into a journal spread of my own. And then there's an envelope, and so here's the back. So this is my new personal journal. I am in love with this, and I have enough materials that I'm going to be able to make many, many more of these if I decide to do more with this type of journal. And I think I will, because yeah, it's just, yeah, it's just awesome. It's what I wanted. So that's my finished product. That is how I created it. And in the next video, I will show you how to make a journal that is not a hand-bound journal. We will use an actual binder. I hope you guys are healthy. I hope you are happy. I hope you got some inspiration, and I hope you do something creative today. Bye.